Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, tonight the Friends as Sim Racers Tour Racing League heads to the Charlotte Motor Speedway for this event, race number 3 on the 2020 Segment 2 Series Championship. These drivers will be racing for 80 high action-packed laps of excitement. Tonight I am joined by Mr. Trey Coleman and Tommy Bordeaux. Welcome to the booth, guys.
Thanks, Joe. It's good to be back. We had a great race at Martinsville last week with our winner, David Day, just edging out the number 18 car by a little bit there. And I think we're going to have a good race here tonight at Charlotte. Hey, how you feeling tonight?
Pretty good. Thanks so much, Tommy. Thanks, Joe. Pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to watch some real tight racing here at a mile and a half and see what kind of action we can see unfold on the track tonight.
And tonight is our first mile and a half big track race on the season. It'll be interesting to see who will be the dominant force in tonight's race. As you hear the drivers getting called to their cars for qualifying here. Tonight's race, as I previously mentioned, is 80 laps. What kind of challenges does a relatively long race like tonight pose to these drivers, Tommy?
Well, Joe, that's a good question. You're going to have a lot of time to make your way up through the field if you qualify poorly, but you don't want to do too bad because track position can be very important here. You're going to want to make sure you make your moves early and stay in the race late. That means not getting involved in any accidents, your tires safe, and maybe at the end, fuel strategy comes into it, just saving enough gas to get to the end.
And Trey, you were in the JTN test car during opening practice here at Charlotte. What can you say about the track conditions for these drivers tonight?
Well, that's a good question. It really felt good out there. I know there was a lot of the car handled very well on the high side, but I feel like cars are gonna migrate down to the low side during the race. It's a little bit tight, a little bit tighter than I would like it to be, but that's just me personally. But I feel like the drivers are gonna have a challenge of trying to keep those tires clean while trying to work their way through up the field. And if they can conserve them really well, I think they have a good shot at the end.
Yeah, and you both kind of talked about or alluded to pit strategy tonight. The window on fuel is roughly 28 to 30 laps, which puts this race in the two-stop window. You can kind of pit a little bit on the front end of that window to make it to the end, but you got to be careful with trying to make sure you make it to the end. Do you think either of you can take this question? Do you think drivers are going to have that mindset going in to take it easy at the start, or do you think there's going to be some that are going to push it early on?
Well, here's the thing about the Dash Series, Joe. It is just that, a dash. And while these drivers may have 80 laps to win this race, want to get it done as soon as they can. Now, not only can that mean that they're going to be more aggressive at the start, but just because they're going for the win on lap 1 means they might also wreck out on lap 1. So look early for drivers to be aggressive, maybe too aggressive, and cause a yellow that could impact strategy down the road.
We'd also like to thank everyone here at the start. I'd like to thank you too, obviously. We'll throw up your social media handles. If anyone would like to, you can follow all three of us on Twitter and Instagram at this handle, at our respective handles. I'd also like to thank all the viewers tuning in, whether they be tuning in live at 9 p.m. every Tuesday night, now here on my YouTube channel at JoeTowNetwork, or if they are watching the replay the day after or right after this race is over. I know a lot of these drivers like to look at old race footage, kind of dissect their moves. We heard from a couple drivers in the garage area during practice that this race is going to handle more like a super speedway. Do you guys foresee that being a problem for some of our more inexperienced drivers?
Well, I do see it posing a potential issue. I really don't know how they're going to act when we get going. So it's really just going to be dependent on how they feel the conditions are and what they can really get going with.
And I think as a driver, as a former driver in this series, I guess at this point, when we raced here last at Charlotte, we saw the field get really strung out early on due to some quick cautions at the start of the race, and I feel like if we get something similar to that tonight, it's going to be a long night for some of these drivers that might not have had a great season up to this point as we watch Andrew Miller in his number 47 machine make laps here at the Speedway.
Yeah, that should be an interesting thing if we get those early yellows like I mentioned earlier. But one thing I want to take a look at here is the lap times from qualifying. Now, we had Corbin Huffman winning the pole in the number 23 car this afternoon, time of 28.408. Now, right behind him, we have the next 6 cars, that's positions 1 through 7, all in the 28.4s back to Zach Krasowski in the number 1 car. The field's really tight. They're very even with each other, and it might be pretty interesting to see how that evolves in the race. Do they get spread out, or do they keep it close? In any case, it should bring some great action here at the 1.5-mile trial quad oval here at Charlotte.
Yeah, and before we even get gridded for tonight's race, let's go to our picks. Trey, who do you have winning this race tonight?
I'm going to take a look at that driver of that 88, Darren Ingram. While he's not really been a successful driver here at Charlotte, another series, he's really a good driver, and I know he's going to be aggressive from the get-go. It's really a question of can he avoid wrecks and make his way up to the front.
So we see Darren in that Credit 1 machine. Tommy, who do you have tonight?
Yeah, Trey kind of took my pick a little bit there, but I'm going to go with our pole sitter tonight, Corbin Huffman. This guy's a veteran of the sport. He's done a great job at Charlotte in the past. He's won a Cup Series race there multiple times, and I'm ready to see that 23 car in victory lane. My pick, Corbin Huffman tonight.
Well, and just as Trey took your pick, you took mine. I was going to take Corbin in that number 23 machine. I'd still like to take him, but to make things interesting tonight, I'm going to go with last season's runner-up here at Charlotte, Andrew Miller, to break his terrible luck streak here at the start of the season and win this thing. He led the most laps here last time. It's a similar setup. It's the same track, very same conditions pretty much for these drivers, and I think that experience only a few months ago will really pay off for him tonight.
Yeah, it could. And Andrew's a good driver. I've actually battled with him in the Dash Series at Dover. He won that race. So we'll have to see how he handles this bigger track. Obviously, a very good driver, very talented, very fast here in the past. So he should have a good shot at winning this thing if he can stay clean and out of trouble.
Yeah, as we're coming up on the end of happy hour practice here, we didn't see everyone make laps in this happy hour. Do you think maybe some of these guys are trying to save what they got for the race here tonight?
Oh, I definitely think so. A lot of these guys, they've run laps in practice, they ran numerous laps in practice, so obviously they're just going to want to keep it calm, stay as collected as they can, and really just know what they got going into the race. They don't really need to go out there and practice.
Yeah, and so close to the race, Trey. You don't want to tear up your equipment right beforehand with a stupid crash. So definitely looking to preserve things for the race. And Joe, it looks like we've got a question from the mailbag here. Joe, our user Dickus88 asks, "Hello, Joe. First-time caller, long-time fan. Could you explain how cars work?"
Well, you see, all of these race vehicles are going to fill their fuel tanks, their gasoline tanks in layman's terms, with Sunoco E85 ethanol racing fuel. That fuel is then sent to the engine of the vehicle into the cylinder heads, where it is combusted to make energy. That energy is then converted through numerous mechanisms in the car that we don't even have time to explain to provide energy and power to the rear axle, causing the rear wheels to spin and propel the car forward. I'd like to thank our dedicated user for sending in these mailbag questions. And if you have a question for any of us tonight, feel free to use that live chat function on the right side of your screen, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you have about the Fast Racing League. We saw Corbin Huffman take a hard hit into the wall in turns 1 and 2. Hopefully they'll be able to get that car sorted out before the race starts here.
Yeah, and that's what I was just talking about, Joe, making sure you keep your equipment safe. Hopefully he's going to be okay.
As the drivers are getting called to their race vehicles, Trey, why don't you take us through the starting lineup tonight?
All right. Starting P1, we're going to have Corbin Huffman in the number 23 Fraternal Order of Eagles Chevrolet Camaro. We're going to have Matt Watkins in the Super Mario 15 Toyota Supra. We're going to have, Andrew Miller in the number 47 Stevens Universe Chevrolet Camaro. Fourth place, we're going to have Randall Coleman in the Napa number 9. Fifth place, we'll have Patton in the number 69 Flowmaster Chevrolet Camaro. Sixth place, we're going to have Darren Ingram, 88 Credit One Bank Chevrolet Camaro. Seventh place, we're going to have Zach Krastowski in the Allegiant number 1. Eighth place, we're going to have Cody Luke in the number 4 Georgia Watermelon Chevrolet Camaro. And then ninth place, we're going to have Bill Murnahan in the number 3 Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet Camaro.
Now, it'll be interesting to see. Tommy talked about it earlier in early in our pre-race practice broadcast section of this event. How a lot of these cars during qualifying were all under a blanket, very similar times. Trey, do you think that a guy like Zach Krastowski starting in the back can make his way to the front relatively easy?
Oh, most certainly. With the draft here at this track and just really being patient, trying to work his way up to the field, I definitely think some of the guys in front of him are going to use up their stuff pretty quickly if they're not taking it easy as you might think. And he'll definitely have a chance to get up there. I see him up there quite soon.
As these 9 beasts of automobiles roll through 3 and 4, you see it as a predominantly Chevrolet field with one Toyota, and that's it to try to break up the Chevy party. Corbin Huffman leads them off of turn 4 as we come through the tri-oval, and let's get those rear wheels turning. Green flags in the air. We are underway here at Charlotte.
Yeah, pretty good start right there from Corbin Huffman, taking control of this race out in front. Looks like Andrew Miller in the 47 trying to make an early move on the inside of Matt Watkins.
Yeah, if we're going to look right behind that. Go ahead.
See, Miller now going for the lead here.
Wow.
Yeah, and a little bit of aggressiveness from Andrew Miller wanting to get out front, taking that bottom line away from Corbin Huffman. Right behind him is Matt Watkins in the 15 car. Look at Randall Coleman in the picture in that top 5 as well.
Yeah, an interesting top 5 already to start this race. You see Darren Ingram sneaking his way up into the picture now. You see the cars rolling through turns 1 and 2. Corbin Huffman right on the bumper of that 47. So now he gets to the outside into 3 and 4. Not the preferred line down here, but he's going to try to make it work. 3 cars up top, 1 on the bottom. He looks like he'll have a runoff at 4.
Definitely.
Yeah, and right now we can see that. Go ahead, Trey.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And he's got the draft now from Matt Watkins. These top 5 are these top 4 are separating themselves just a little bit from Darren Ingram. I believe they're going to draft themselves up here. Ingram should get caught back up. Excuse me.
That's what I was going to say. That top 4 pulling away just a little bit, and it looks like Corbin Huffman's found his way back up to the front. Miller sliding back on the inside line as Randall Coleman and Matt Watkins hooking up around the outside.
Could that 47 car, with making those aggressive moves early on in this race, Tommy, could he have put too much heat into those tires?
Yeah, you got to be careful, especially on the low side. You know, when you go to the high side, you save a little bit of your tires like Corbin Huffman did early on. Joe, it's also super early. I mean, he might just be saving his stuff. He realizes this might be a long run here. We haven't had a yellow now. It's 4 laps in. So he might be just saving his stuff a little bit more here.
As he'll clear, or try to clear the 9 of Randall Coleman for 3rd. Doesn't look like he'll be able to do it off of 4, but they're going to still keep battling for that 3rd position. Now he looks like he's cleared going down into 1 and 2. Trey, we saw those 3 cars stay up top, and they worked together, and the front 2 at least got by that 47. Will teamwork play a big role towards the end of this race?
Definitely, I think so. If you don't have any drafting help, you're really not going to be able to get by somebody as we get further into the run. As you use up your tires, you're really not going to be able to pull around somebody on the outside lane unless you get a really good entry and they potentially make a mistake. So I definitely do think teammates is going to be a big factor towards the end of the race. Some of these Camaros might choose to work with each other. Excuse me.
Yeah, if we talk
it's always nice to have friends, but right now Corbin Huffman, all the Chevys in the field are up front except for that 2nd position, which is the Toyota Supra of Matt Watkins. Right now he's in a position where he might try and go for the lead, although Andrew Miller trying to fight back on the inside.
And we've seen Andrew Miller be really aggressive here at the start of the race, trying to get as many positions as he can. Either of you can take this question, but how does that clean air really help the driver get the car to kind of turn into the corner and not be so tight off? Like, how does that clean air really affect these drivers and how they make moves?
Well, these cars are so aerodynamically balanced these days, right? I mean, downforce is very important. Basically, what's happening is there's a stream of air that cars have that they're cutting through right now, and the aerodynamics are designed to work with a clean stream of air in front of them. Now, that amount of air in front of them depends on if there's a car in front of them or not. So when you're behind another car, you're not getting quite that much air. Air is going to be more turbulent and not smooth. It's not going to react with the aerodynamic elements as nice with the car. That means you're going to have less downforce, which means less grip, and your car is going to be a little bit more tighter sometimes or loose depending on the situation. So right now, Matt Watkins could have a little bit of aero push. As you see, he's not able to get quite up to that 23 car of Corbin Huffman.
Yeah, you see him kind of lay back, or maybe not lay back, but fall back a little bit on that off the bumper of the 23. But these top four have really distanced themselves from the rest of the field. You see Darren Ingram sitting there in fifth. You can see him just at the back of your picture. He's kind of falling back. The one is Zach Krastowski starting to catch him. Those two are teammates here. Will they try to work together to make their way up to these front four?
Definitely. Right now, it really seems like Darren and Mr. Krasowski, Zach Krasowski, are really trying to just save their stuff, hang out, and see what they can do. If any of those top four get into trouble, they'll definitely be in the catbird seat in case they need to make a move.
See the cars going down the backstretch here at Charlotte. It'll be really interesting to see as we've gotten this long green flag run, something we haven't gotten very often here at the start of the Dash Series. You saw the 69 towards the back of your screen. Looked like he clipped the wall a bit. We haven't seen these long green flag runs in most of these races, including one at a race at Talladega, which is traditionally a race where you see these long green flag runs. With that being said, that long comment being said, we didn't see a lot of guys practicing pit stops in happy hour, and they haven't had to make green flag pit stops in a couple weeks now. How will shaking off that pit stop rust or race rust or whatever you want to call it really affect these guys as they come to pit stops here, most likely under green? Tommy.
Well, Joe, let me tell you something. Championships, races, seasons can be won or lost on pit road. It's very important to have, and nobody knows it better than I do. It's very important to have a good pit stop entry. Not only do you have to go fast enough to not lose enough time, but you also can't. That's going to be really important. I think with this very difficult pit lane to get into here at Charlotte, I think these drivers are going to be under a lot of pressure to get in there fast, but also under control. We might see some cars lose control if they go into pit road too hot and have to slow it down fast enough to get slowed down by that line. So it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of variety as far as pit stop times go, and that could lead to the field being a little bit shaken up in case things don't go their way.
Yeah, and we saw during happy hour practice, the little bits and pieces that we got, that the 88 of Darren Ingram, he had a couple issues kind of coming to pit road. It looked like he maybe misjudged it, maybe went a little farther than he should. Trey, can you kind of talk to how a driver sets themselves up for making a green flag pit stop as they go into 3 and 4 at this track?
Yeah, so really what you want to do is get into 3 and 4. You want to alert other drivers out that you're pitting by putting your hand out the window, let them know that you're coming in. Sometimes drivers will choose to clutch their car and put it into neutral to try to get down, slow down about halfway through 3 and 4, depending on whether you've got somebody really tight on your bumper. But they really want to make sure, the key thing, being on that bottom line so you're not cutting across the lanes of traffic, and making sure that you can keep enough speed to get up to that first line in pit road while not speeding, of course.
As we see Randall Coleman, he's now taken over the third position, or kind of locked himself into that, starting to challenge the 15 for second. Gets really close on the bumper here through 3 and 4. We're now, as we get our lap counter up there, finally, some technical issues, but it should be up there now. We've seen early on really clean racing and everyone being really generous with the room, and I foresee this staying the case until, roughly lap 50 or once we get off of that last pit stop. But do you guys think maybe being aggressive now could help you in the long run as we get later on in this race?
Well, I want to look to something that we mentioned earlier that Trey talked about, and the importance of teamwork and drafting with the right cars to get by someone. Track position is going to be awfully important here, and I think if you're aggressive now and you put yourself at the top of the field and have good pit stops, you might have a better chance at the end of this race to be up front. And I think if I'm any driver right now, I want to be in that lead position like Corbin Huffman is right now. I don't want to be back in the field because it's difficult to pass. So I think right now, you're going to want to try and be aggressive, try and stay up front right now. But I'll tell you what, that top 4 group is staying tight together. They're doing a great job of it.
And they've really done a good job of keeping it spaced to where I feel like they're all pretty comfortable with the other guys around them. I mean, those next 2 cars, 5th and 6th, 88 and the 1, they're kind of, as these guys now get side by side for second, if that continues to be the case, they're going to be able to kind of pull up on this field. Do these top 4 maybe want to keep it single file, work this thing out, and try to keep pulling away from these guys?
You'd think they would want to, as we see the 9 of Randall Coleman hit the apron there and slide up in front. That you would think they want to, but obviously they're not doing it right now as they still continue side by side. Ingram is really caught up, and I think Kristowski's going to get caught up here. If they want to stretch it out, they get single file, but it doesn't look like they're going to do that this time around.
Yeah, not only has it allowed Ingram and Kristowski to come up, but it's also allowed Corbin Huffman to pull away. Gap to the lead now, extending for the 23 car of Corbin Huffman as more cars enter the front pack. Could be pretty interesting to see how this develops, guys.
Well, and you always see it, the super speedways, they always talk about how the leader might get too far out. Do you think that he might have gotten a little too far out now as Randall Coleman has started to close the gap on him? Do you think those two have gotten a little too far ahead of these next 4?
I don't think so. I think at a track like Charlotte, I think they're doing great right now. They're doing exactly what they need to do. They're pulling away from the rest of those 4 cars back there, and right now, I mean, if I'm anyone except for Randall Coleman and Corbin Huffman, I'm worried a little bit, although Huffman's sliding up the racetrack. That's going to let the 9 car go on the inside. This is going to bring those cars right back if they battle.
You see, Randall Coleman, he's definitely wants to try to get a lap led as he's battling for our points championship here in segment 2 of the Dash Series. But so I think that might have been a little bit of Huffman kind of giving him a break there. He made a little mistake, but then was like, Randall, go ahead, you take the lead, go get your points.
Yeah.
As we continue.
But I'll tell you what, that really closed up that field, and now we got 5 cars, make that 6 cars, going back to Andrew Miller in the 47, all within a second of each other. Just another 4.5 seconds back to the 69 of Keith Patton. But right now, guys, this top 6 very close.
Yeah, as they continue to race close like this, you got to think they're all going to be coming to pit road around the same time. We talked about how the challenges that Charlotte presents for pitting, but what other challenges can be presented, Tommy, when you're pitting with a lot of other drivers and cars?
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, there's a lot of challenges, especially because there are a lot of things that are out of your control. Earlier this season in a Fast Cup Series race at Kansas, there was an incident entering pit road that took out multiple cars, including myself, and wasn't anything I did wrong. So, going into pit road, you can have cars lose control, spin out in front of you. You can have cars ram you from behind. There's cars everywhere, and you got to look out for them. I'll tell you what, Joe, it could be pretty treacherous if some guys aren't on the same page, don't get the message, like don't see that hand out the window like Trey mentioned, and might run into the back of these guys. So they got to be extra careful getting on pit road, only to not speed, but also not to get involved in any wrecks.
And Trey, what things besides, making sure your hand's out the window, what can you do to communicate with these other drivers that you're coming to pit road to give them a more advanced heads up to make sure that you don't get run over when you're coming to make that first pit stop?
Well, make sure to alert them over the radio pretty quickly. You can probably do it about a lap in advance, entering the tri-oval, coming if you're going to pit next time by. Just let them know, be like 15 cars pitting or 88 cars pitting. Just make sure if they know in advance, so obviously when they head into turn 3, you're not telling them, oh, I'm pitting now, because obviously that could turn into a treacherous event where somebody gets run over and possibly wrecked.
As we see these cars, they're all taking this similar low line right now. We saw them towards the start drifting up high, really doing a nice diamond arc through the corner. That can't be saving tires, though, as we get towards the end of this run.
Yeah, but I think at this point, I think everyone's kind of staying where they are. I don't think you're going to see many guys try and make any rash moves. Although I got to say, one big mover in this race right now, Darren Ingram in that 88 car, Trey, your pick. He moved back from towards the rear of the field up to 4th. It looked like for a little bit there he might have lost the lead pack, but he's right back up there again.
Yeah, he's slowly working his way back up to that pack. I was pretty surprised by the time he hung back in the back, but he's slowly getting caught up, hanging in the pack with the top 4, and really just driving around calmly, just making sure, running consistent lap times, about 28.5s, and just really making sure that he's with them and he knows when he's going to pit as well.
Joe, I want to go back to the mailbag before we have our first round of pit stops here. Dick Casadiers asks, hello, Joe, longtime caller, first-time fan. Why are race cars fast?
Well, you wouldn't like race cars if they were slow. I think that's the simple answer to give you there, sir. But race cars are fast because the whole point of a race is to be the first to finish, to be the one that gets to stand in that checkered circle after the event, hold the trophy, kiss the trophy girl, uh, enjoy everything that comes with winning a race. And if you were in a race car and it was slow, you'd never get to experience that emotional high. Um, Scientifically speaking, race cars are fast because they have very engines with 500, 600, 700, 800, 900 horsepower, depending on what kind of car you're watching race. They have been tuned on for weeks, if not months, to make sure that aerodynamically they are the most sound piece of equipment for these drivers to run. And in the end, again, you wouldn't like race cars if they were slow.
And don't forget those drivers behind the wheel. We've got a battle up front with the best of them. Let me tell you, Randall Coleman in the lead, but Corbin Huffman hot on his tail, and Ingram has made his way up to third place around Matt Watkins. Look at that 88 car go.
88 car really trying to start catching his two Revolution Motorsports teammates as we see a different 4-car breakaway. The same, three of the same as we saw that first time, but so we got cars coming to pit road. And oh, we got contact!
Oh, we have contact. And Joe,
Oh!
What were we saying? Pit road could be treacherous. Caution is out on the racetrack, and I'll tell you what, that is exactly what we were talking about. Not communicating, not getting the message, and unfortunately, it involves our pole sitter, Corbin Huffman.
Well, and you're picking, if I'm the driver of that 23 car, I am not happy with my teammate right now. That is something that could have been avoided entirely. It looked like the 88 might have been a little bit aggressive coming to pit road. We'll get you a replay here of what happened. We'll try to go on board with that Credit One Camaro.
Yeah, I'm looking at the transcripts of the radio transmissions, Joe. That 23 car was making it known he was pitting this time. Looks like the 88 might have not got the message, and that's unfortunate for both those cars now. Might have a little bit of damage there that's going to affect them in the long run.
As you look, the 23 was relatively high coming to pit road, but he was really following the tire tracks of the 9, and the 88 just sounded like he might got. And then that second hit is the one that gets me. You know he's sitting there, and you got to try to avoid him. And I mean, sometimes you just can't avoid that car that's sitting in front of you.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We got a great look on the replay of that second hit, too. I mean, I'll tell you what, the 88 car was really fast. He was getting through the field so good. Unfortunately, some problems on pit road might make things pretty interesting. He's going to have to work his way from the back again.
Yeah, we got a little contact between Krastowski and Ingram on pit road. A little bit of contact in his rear bumper. So a little bit extra damage on the 88. He might have to get repaired here.
Well, if he doesn't already have a decent amount of damage to repair from that front impact, he'll definitely have some now. But the real winner here, if there was one from this caution, it's that 15 of Matt Watkins. He's now going to take over with the race lead. The 47, also Andrew Miller, a big winner here too, because he wasn't coming to pit road that time. He'll take over the second position here at Charlotte.
Yeah, and that 47 you mentioned, Joe, he was dropping back quite a bit at the end of that first run. He was using up his tires pretty early on. A couple laps led, but then kind of slid back from the leaders. And I'll tell you what, that 15 up front of Matt Watkins, our Segment 1 champion, he's sitting pretty good right now.
So you watch the 88, looks like he's going to be coming back to pit road maybe, or he's letting cars by. He's coming back to pit road. Yeah, that's a tough break for all the parties involved here. I mean, you're running really good. You're in this 4-car breakaway in a small field of only 9 cars, and for something like that to happen, it's a disaster almost for that team, both of those teams.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely not what they wanted, I'll tell you that much. And I think right now, if you're the 47 car, the 15 car, you got a great opportunity to get back in the field. Hopefully you learned a lot from that first run, especially that 47 car, and what the tires are going to do later on. Let's see if he can keep it up front this time and not slide back so far.
Well, I think what really bit the 47 in that first run was he was really, really keen on trying to make passes. And the more that you're racing side by side with another car, with another driver, you're really slowing your lap times down. And when those guys in front of you are running single file, they're going to keep pulling away from you more and more every lap. You watch the field pace here. So Trey, I got a question.
Yeah.
If you're in that 9 car right now, you came to pit road, your initial time as the leader. You had to come back down pit road because obviously you couldn't make your pit stop because it looked as if he didn't make the green light that, or they closed pit road because of the caution. What is your mindset now that you're going to have to drive through this field to get back to that leading position that you were initially in?
Well, as we saw, there was a little bit of trouble during green flag racing. Obviously, that was with pit stops, but really, I'm going to be cognizant of what's going on around me and what the cars are doing. If somebody behind me wants to be aggressive and go by me, I'll let them do it because I'm going to catch back up to them at some point as long as I can stick within that draft. So if I'm the 9 of Randall Coleman, I'm really just going to be looking around me, making sure that I can safely make my way up to the field without getting any damage, and really, really utilizing the draft to my advantage.
As the lights are out on the pace car, we will be going back green flag racing here, this time at the line. Matt Watkins will be your leader. He'll be followed by the 47 of Andrew Miller. In third will be the 1 Allegiant Chevy of Zach Kristowski. Fourth will be the 3 of Bill Murnahan in that beautiful Bass Pro Shops Camaro. Fifth will be the 69. Am I correct?
Yes, Keith Patton.
Keith Patton in the 69. Sixth will be the 23 of Corbin Huffman in that Fraternal Order of Eagles Chevy Camaro. Seventh will be the 9 of Randall Coleman, that Napa Chevy, and then rounding out your field here on this restart will be the 88 of Darren Incrum. All drivers are currently on the lead lap. We'll see the pace car will pull off here in just a second. We'll be back green flag racing. The cars come out of turn 4 into the restart zone. They will wait to see the green flag waved. And the green flag is back in the air. We are back underway racing here. Really slow start for all these guys.
Yeah, kind of interesting. A little bit of shuffling going on the high side. I was going to mention, Joe, this provides a pretty unique opportunity for the 1 of Zach Kristowski and the 3 of Bill Murnahan, who were back in the field quite a bit, lost that draft, and now an opportunity to stay up front. But right now, it looks like the 3 is slipping back, and Keith Patton on the inside of the 3, well, he's looking for 4th place on Zach Kristowski, who's now in 3rd.
As we see that 69 car, the 3's in the wall.
Ooh,
the 20
contact. Oh, 88 and 22 back together.
Big contact, the 88-23. And that's exactly why
that was a tough wreck.
And that's exactly why you want to be up towards the front of this field right now. That is just a case of there's a couple cars in front of you that might not have the setup or have the handle on the car that they want, and then having to kind of check up for those guys, and we'll go to a replay here.
That's so unfortunate. You know, those 3 cars were our top 3 before that first yellow going to pit road, finding themselves in the bad, getting involved in another accident, and that's not going to help at all their chances of winning here tonight, especially because 2 of them were our picks.
And the 1 week I don't pick Randall, he ends up having the worst luck.
So looking at the cars that are coming down pit road, Joe, as we have a replay going on right now, let's see what happened in this wreck.
Yeah, it looked like there was a little bit of contact between the 9 and the 23. The 3 also looked like he got into the wall. It really closes up here coming off of turn 4 at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, what I'm really thinking there is the 3 getting in the wall there alerted the 23. 23 is like, I need to have an inside to go to. I need to get out of here so I don't run in the back of the 3 car. And of course, he got in the 9 there, and then the 88 had nowhere to go, nowhere to slow down. Just chain reaction there. Really what happens.
And just an unfortunate event for all these guys. We'll go on board with the 88 here for our last look at this caution. See, the 9 drifts up, gets a little loose off the corner. The 23 comes down to try to avoid the 3, and then it's just over from there as he makes contact with the 9. It's a real unfortunate event for these three drivers who were running so well before our first caution.
Yeah, and something different to note, what I'm noticing under caution here, and I've heard a little bit of radio chatter, we're listening to team transmissions, a lot of these drivers are really saving under the caution. As we said before, it's a two-stop race, but there's a lot of potential if we have a couple more cautions, the need to save fuel, and really the opportunity to stay out in case there's some sort of strategy you can play. I've seen a lot of these Revolution Camaros and even Andrew Miller in the lead here, just clutching it, trying to save that fuel, and shutting the engine back off, and then back on, really to see what kind of fuel they can get.
So now look at the 47 up in the lead, gentlemen. And let me tell you something. I saw something kind of interesting on his stop. He didn't take any tires. That was a very short run that we just had before the next yellow, but those tires are going to be just a little bit more worn than the rest of the field. It's going to be interesting to see how he can hold on there up front. And if that 15 car, who has fresher tires, can do anything to him. I'll see also the 88 car back up into 4th position, finding his way back up the field after 2 early incidents.
Well, in these GNS cars, these Xfinity-style race cars, they have these composite bodies, and it's really easy for these teams to kind of work through when these drivers get damage onto their vehicle to kind of get the car back into shape. You know, hitting the wall doesn't really affect it as much as it would with, say, a Cup car. But that 88's got to have some serious damage. He had a hard lick with the 23 and then another hard lick with the wall. Do you see that Trey, do you think that car might be a little more hurt than what that driver is probably letting on here as he's going to be lining up 4th?
Easy, start with that. I definitely think he might be a little bit paced coming to the green here, but as long as he has a car behind him, I think he'll be able to keep up pretty well. Now, he may not have the speed that we saw out of the 23 of Corbin Huffman or the 9 of Randall Coleman in that powering around due to that little bit of that damage he got on the front end and rear end during that last caution period.
Continue to watch. Corbin Huffman makes another pit stop here, probably to fix up the last little bits and pieces of that car. So this is how we're going to line up here for this restart. The 47 of Andrew Miller will be restarting in the 1st position on the inside line. He'll be followed by Matt Watkins in that 15 Toyota Supra. 3rd will be Zach Krastowski in the 1, followed by the 88 of Darren Ingram. 5th will be Randall Coleman in the 9 Napa Camaro, and 6th will be Keith Patton in the 69. And then round on your last row here on the restart will be the 3 of Bill Murnahan, and once Corbin Huffman gets back out on the speedway, he will be lining up shotgun on the field.
And one thing of note that we really forgot to mention there, the 4 car had an early exit from the race. I think he had a gearbox issue or something on lap 12 and early retirement from the race.
Yeah, unfortunate for that 4 car, I'll tell you what, because it's never fun to have an issue mechanically early on that takes you out of a chance to win. And the way that the race is shaped up tonight, I mean, we still got 8 cars in this, and we don't know who's going to win at this point. So, unfortunate for that team. But right now, it's the 47 of Andrew Miller out front.
Well, and as we come back to green, we are halfway in this race, about to start the second half. Andrew Miller will look to get a good restart here, try to pull away from the rest of the field. The green flag is being displayed. We are back underway racing here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, the 88 of Darren Ingram with a big start there. He got a big jump and gave a huge shove to that 15. It's going to keep him and the 47 Andrew Miller right alongside each other as the 47 clears him right there. I think these guys are going to go a little bit single file here as they work towards that next pit stop cycle.
And of course, as you say that, the 15 makes a move for the lead down the backstretch. On the inside of Andrew Miller, he will look to clear him. Does as they head through 3 and 4 back down the front straightaway.
Yeah, and here comes Corbin Huffman. Oops, excuse me. Here comes Corbin Huffman right back up to the field, trying to get past the 69 and Keith Patton, trying to get back up there.
And you also saw in front of them, the 9 at Randall Coleman making moves on the outside, showing his muscle. It didn't look like Randall got any damage on that 9 car, just spun through the grass or the turf here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Be interesting to see if he can make his way back to the lead as we have another pass for the lead. The 47 Andrew Miller takes it in 3 and 4 from the 15 of Matt Watkins.
Yeah, the thing about these two at the front of the field, they're just swapping back and forth, using up their tires, and that's really a concern for me. If I'm the one of Zach Krastowski, the 88 or the 9, I'm pretty happy where I am. I can sit here, I can watch them battle, I can catch up when need be, and I'm not using up my tires like they are. So I'd really say Zach Krastowski here is in the catbird seat.
Well, and I'd like to also point out the 15 of Matt Watkins. He's kind of fallen back a little from the 47. Could he be trying to save the tires here a little bit, Tommy?
Well, it might be a little bit of a combination of him saving tires and also the 47 pushing hard. That 47 car I mentioned earlier didn't take any tires on the last pit stop, although he had some fresh ones on the one before, which just had a caution a lap ago. But it might be him pushing too hard. He's got to be careful now, because last run, this long green flag run to start the race, he fell back quite a bit. Hopefully he can stay up there, but I'll tell you what, guys, right now he's looking good.
So you see they keep going through here. Through the trial, 47 will lead another lap here at Charlotte. He led the most laps here last time Dash Series was at Charlotte Motor Speedway, leading 28 laps, but falling short, finishing second to Jeff Dixon. Alright, we're in a window where we're at a one-stop race at this point. If you are the crew chief or the driver, are you thinking about going to the end of your fuel run, running all 28 to 30 laps that you can on a tank of gas, or are you splitting this last 40 laps in half and going about 20 to then make it a 20-lap run to the end?
Okay, so that's a hard decision, Joe, because I'm scared of a yellow coming out, okay? And if I short pit and I get caught out on that yellow and put myself in a hole, say a lap down or so, remember, here at Charlotte, if you pit, you have a very big risk of going a lap down. I don't know if it's worth the short pit, especially too early, and if you get caught out a lap down, it can definitely cause trouble for you later on. I think you're going to stay out as long as you can. Try and see when other people are pitting. You got to be proactive about it, of course, not reactive, but at the same time, I don't think it's worth splitting it into 20 lap stages. I think right now, maybe you pit a couple laps earlier in the competition, but not too much. You don't want to get caught out.
Well, if we saw a larger field here, would that change your mind at all? Or does that small field kind of play into the fact that you're really worried about going that lap down because it's going to be really hard to get those spots back, especially with how close everyone's running to each other?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, right now it looks like all the drivers are single file pretty much all the way down the order in a very tight line. So all their drafting advantage is really going to help them run faster lap times. I mean, they're not battling, they're not side by side as much. So you're going to lose pretty much the maximum amount of time you could. So I think right now, if I'm any one of these drivers, I'm going to wait a little bit here. Not pit so early that it could cost me in the end.
As we watch the one of Zach Kristowski, he's got two teammates behind him. Trey, at Daytona earlier in the season in the Fast Cup Series, which runs Wednesday nights at 8:30. The link to the Fast League page is obviously in the video description below. But Trey, you worked really well with teammates at Daytona, and we've talked about how this race is very similar to a super speedway like Daytona. Do you think the 188 and 9 are kind of all going to be on the same strategy here as we go down to the end of this race?
Oh, most certainly. As we saw them in the garage this week, they were all talking about really kind of strategizing together for the race. Obviously, we don't know too much of team-specific information, but those guys really work well together. I know they all ran at that Fast Cup Series race at Daytona, and a lot of them work with me as well. And I know that they were drafting really well. So if I were to, I wouldn't be surprised to see those three cars work together and try to work something on pit strategy, whether they short pit, really taking that considerable risk, or sticking together trying to pit or stay out a little bit later in the cycle. Excuse me.
And of those three, Trey, who do you think would be in the best position after pit stops if that were the plan and those three come in together?
You know, I'm gonna say the 9 of Randall Coleman. He's been doing this for a really long time, and I know that he, out of all three of them, would be the best, and he'd be the best at trying to capitalize off something like that. I know that Kristowski has had a couple problems getting into pit road and some pit issues earlier this season. Not too big, but small things, maybe a little bit longer in the stall than you want to, maybe not getting back up to speed on pit road. And the 88 of Ingram, we saw him have a couple pit issues. So in case another bad issue today, like he ran into the 23 earlier, Randall Coleman would be in a perfect position.
And Tommy, if you're that one car and you're all coming in together, last time you saw a attempt at green flag pit stops, the 88 ran over the car in front of him. How worried are you in that driver's seat that something similar could occur again?
I'm pretty worried. I mean, you really can't trust anyone around you in a situation like that. When you're going up pit road, even if it's your teammate or somebody that you don't know, in any case, you gotta keep your head on a swivel, especially because how narrow that entrance is and how close the track is right there. That angle that you're coming into pit road at can be very dangerous with cars behind you. So you really got to pay attention here at Charlotte. You have an eye in the mirrors and also in front of you. There's a lot going on, Joe. I'm telling you what, going into pit road is hard work. So right now, if I'm in that one car, boy, I don't know. I'm kind of being a little cautious, but right now maybe cautious is too much as the 88's going to the inside of him looking for third.
As we see, our camera angle is from the inside of the track here through 3 and 4. As they come down the backstretch, the 88 looked like he had a run through the tri-oval, but then the one just really made the high side, or middle to high side of 3 and 4, or 1 and 2 work really well for him there in that last set of corners.
Yeah, and it could be the result of some damage on that 88 car. Maybe not getting the right kind of pull off the corner like he wanted to right now. And actually looks like he's slipping back just a little bit, maybe saving tires. Maybe he lost his run. But in any case, guys, I want to point your attention to that 47 car in the lead. Remember, guys, Stayed Out just did a splash and go in the last pit stop, and right now it's paying off so far. He's been in the lead since the restart.
And he's done a really good job of maintaining that lead over the 15 of Matt Watkins. You know, you would think that those cars behind him would really be able to close that gap relatively easily, but he's done a great job of just taking his time, running his line, and making sure that those guys stay behind him rather than trying to make a move for the lead.
Yeah, my only issue is he doing it too well? He's really getting a gap out there in front of him in the 15, and the 15 is staying up together. But you really wonder, with somebody running such a well race as Andrew Miller has, could there be an issue? Could there be a potential issue later in the race? Is he running it too well? Is he using his luck now? We really got to see.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, as we're in this final pit window, as we have been for a few laps here, I think he's in a good position right now. I mean, if he can get himself onto pit road safely, we don't have any other yellows like we had. I mean, if this thing runs green to the end, Joe, your pick, the 47 car, definitely has a good shot at winning this thing.
We'll see it. I know how to pick them. And before we get to this last green flag pit stop, I'd like to thank all of our viewers tuning in here on YouTube. We made the switch from Twitch over to YouTube. We're going to keep going over here on YouTube because we feel like this platform might help us and benefit us a little bit more in the coming weeks here. But as we make that switch, I'd like to implore everyone, I walk over my words way too much, but to everyone to hit that like button and click subscribe so that way you're notified every time we go live here and when a replay video or any video is uploaded on this channel, my channel, Joe Towanski. I'd also like to ask everyone to go give my boy Tommy Bordeaux and Trey Coleman follows on Instagram and Twitter. Their profile names are in that box on the lower right hand of your screen. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here at Charlotte this evening.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for having us in the booth here. It's nice to be back here again. It's always fun to broadcast these races with the JTN crew and seeing some good ones. Martinsville last week had an amazing finish, and right now, as Charlotte, we have quite a bit of strategy going on. We've had a bunch of different leaders and a very mixed up top 5 at some points of this race. And guys, alluding to that right now, we'll take a look at 5th place. It's the 69 of Keith Patton. Where did he come from?
Yeah, earlier in that run, we saw a little bit of a mistake from Randall Coleman. I think he overdrove his car a little bit and got into the wall there. But here he is going past Corbin Huffman again. I really think that we're going to see a shakeup after pit stops. I really don't believe that we're going to see the 47 leader after. We potentially see the 15 or someone a little bit farther back take the lead over. It really depends on what we see in this cycle.
Yeah, and Tommy, going back to Keith Patton, he has struggled in the races we've broadcast so far, and it's really good to see that 69 crew up here in the top 5 looking to get a great finish here at Charlotte.
Yeah, he has, Joe, and it looks like we're getting some pit stops here early. That's Matt Watkins in the 15 car coming in, the 9 car of Randall Coleman, and the 23 of Corbin Huffman. That's going to put Miller back in the lead over Keith Patton, now in 2nd.
Yeah, they had a little bit of checkup coming into pit road there. I don't really like how that 9 entry into pit road there, checking up there with all of them stacking up. I think they lost a little bit of time there.
Yeah, but as they come off of pit road, they'll all be together. You saw all those Revolution Motorsports Chevys did a really good job of coming to pit road together. The 23 made up some time maybe that he had lost the lap previous, and these guys did a really good job of not running each other over this time coming to pit road.
Yeah, much improved, a lot smoother, especially for that 15 car, Matt Watkins. He was great out in front of those other cars. He's going to leave pit road first, way ahead of the other field. And look at Corbin Huffman in that 23 car. He's going to come out 2nd.
Yeah, he did it. He was really aggressive coming to pit road there. He made up a lot of time. He actually passed a couple cars on pit road, and that's really going to help him try to make a run for this win here at the end of the race. Andrew Miller's on pit road right now, which puts Keith Patton in the lead here at Charlotte.
Yeah, cool to see that 69 car up front, car up front, at least for a little bit. Be interesting to see when he decides to come down pit road, maybe waiting on a late yellow or something. But I'll tell you what, Joe, right now, it looks like we have cars completely spread out except for this group of 3 right now with Darren Ingram, Zach Oskowski, and Randall Coleman. Other than that, guys, it's really spread out.
Well, and Trey, you mentioned before these green flag pit stops that you thought Andrew Miller was going to be a big loser here, but it looks like he's resumed to, once we cycle through, to have the lead with a pretty decent chunk over that 15 of Matt Watkins.
Yeah, the issue with that is with these Chevrolets, they're all spread out too. We have these Chevrolets bounce together. How's the pack gonna rebound back together? These Chevrolets gonna draft and try to get by those guys. Are gonna work together and all try to catch up with that 69 of Keith Patton.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, it might be Keith Patton looking for a late yellow here. Right now, guys, if the yellow were to come out, we'd only have 3 cars on the lead lap. That'd be Andrew Miller getting the lucky dog. And that could put this race in a completely different direction than it had been. You see those 3 cars there of Darren Ingram, Krastowski, and Randall Coleman working together. But I'll tell you what, fellas, if I'm the 3 car right now, too, of Bill Murnahan, it's a golden opportunity if we had a yellow come out.
Yeah, I mean, you'd make up a lot of positions here as these 3 Chevrolet Camaros look to gain on their teammate in the 23 of Corbin Huffman, then try to make a run for second and then a run towards the lead here at Charlotte.
Right now, Keith Patton still staying out. Lap 67 of 80. Joe, we're coming up to 10 to go. And this race is really starting to get into crunch time. I'll tell you what, if you're any one of these drivers, I think everybody's still in it, to be honest with you, but it's going to take a yellow to bring it back. If not, I think the 47 of Andrew Miller is going to have a really good time with a huge lead in front of the 15, unless the yellow comes out.
I mean,
yeah, you know what?
As we continue to watch the 69, that Flowmaster Camaro, he's doing a great job of getting his sponsors some TV time here, leading laps. Something, again, a small team like that really wants to do to kind of boost their portfolio, to bring in more sponsors, more drivers. And he's doing a great job of keeping that car pointed straight and in the lead here at Charlotte.
Yeah, and my issue is if I'm the 69, what's running through my mind right now is if a caution doesn't come out, how much time am I losing? Each lap I'm out there, I'm losing consistent time to these cars who are lapped down. And really, if they're all getting rebounded together as the 88 comes up to this 15 car, they might choose to work with them here. They're going to really start coming up to that 47 and that 3 as we get through the race. Now, the 47 has a pretty good gap. But how much time is the 69 going to lose?
Well, I think at this point he's probably committed to this strategy. I mean, you have to full commit to something like this. You can't do it half-heartedly. And I think right now that's exactly what the 69 team is doing here. Just going for it. Lap 69, and the 69 leads lap 69. Nice. And it looks like right now he's staying up there, not pitting yet.
He's doing a great job of keeping that lead here. Again, interesting to see when this team decides, right as I say that, he comes to the pit road here, and closely following behind is the 3 of Bill Murnahan, who looks to make up some time coming to pit road.
Didn't quite get the yellow that they needed, and now that's going to bring the 47 car of Andrew Miller to the TWB 10 to go. Gentlemen, for over a decade, TWB has provided companies and consumers alike with products and services that make business happen from a brand you can trust. For more information, visit us online at twb.com. TWB, let's do this together. That's your TWB 10 to go, and right now, Andrew Miller in the 47 leading the way at Charlotte.
And thank you to our sponsor, TWB, for sponsoring this 10 to go segment. You see Andrew Miller still, again, your leader here. He's got to be feeling really good right now. He's got a decent lead on the rest of the field. Do you see the 69 coming off the pit road? It looks like this pack of Chevys and Toyota, this one Toyota, they're going to go whizzing by here. Really, though, Trey, you talked about how much time is he really losing. He was running 5th. Caution comes out, he'd be running top 3. Caution doesn't come out, he loses 2 positions. Honestly, that strategy, did it pay off? No. But it could have got him in a really good position if a caution were to come out.
Yeah, and actually, we're looking at it here. He might have some drafting help from that 3 out. The 3 might be entering pit road. I think he has a penalty here. Limit speeding on pit road here. But that 69, yeah, you're right. It didn't work out too badly for him. But interesting thing.
Sorry, Trey, sometimes you have to gamble. I mean, especially like we mentioned, a small team like that who hasn't had much success this year, looking for something to kickstart some momentum. And right now, Joe, that's what they were trying to do. But unfortunately, it didn't quite pan out this time.
Well,
something interesting. Good.
47 of Andrew Miller, you see as the cars. Can you tell we're new to this? The 47 of Andrew Miller, he's got almost a whole straightaway lead on the rest of the field. As we're coming to the end of the race, Trey, what are you doing if you're these next 5 cars try to make up points here? Because it doesn't look like you're going to catch the leader.
Staying in line and just keeping it together. And actually, these cars behind are picking up about 5/10 per lap. They are gaining pretty quickly, but the issue with that is you're not going to gain 2 seconds in that remaining 7 laps. So really, stay in line, and if you can catch up to them, if not, you really need to start trying to make moves with about 2 to 3 to go. If you realize you're not going to catch them, that's when it's go time. You need to go when there's help and when you can get past somebody.
Gentlemen, we're going to have one more mailbag question from the crowd today. Stop Motion Force. He says, hello, Joe, longtime caller, first-time fan. Why are race cars fast? I think right now the answer to that question is because Andrew Miller's behind the wheel. He's got himself a 2.5-second lead, but a 5 to go this time by, sitting pretty up front here at Charlotte.
Yeah, race cars are fast because, again, you wouldn't want to watch them if they were slow. Why would you watch a slow race car? You want to be the winner. You want to get the trophy, kiss the trophy, girl. You want to do all that. You want to be in victory lane at the end of this thing, and Andrew Miller is doing a great job, but this pack behind him is starting to close the gap here. He's got about a half straightaway lead.
Yeah, they gained about 3.
The Trey, like you were saying earlier, the question is if they have enough time. Do you think they have enough time, Trey?
Oh, I definitely do. They've caught him about another 3 attempts this past lap, and let's see how much they catch him here when the scoring refreshes over the line. They caught him about another 5/10 there. So they are going to get to him by the time we get to that white flag. The question is, who's going to stay in line to work together, or are they going to get side by side trying to battle for some positions and not be able to catch up?
Even though it's a 1.5-mile quad oval Charlotte right now, racing like the closing laps of a fuel strategy super speedway race. One car up ahead of the whole pack trying to work together to catch them. And it's going to rely on teamwork to get back up there. They gain another 4/10 that time, but just 3 laps remain. That would equal out to 0.0 seconds. Catching him is one thing, guys. Passing him is another. And Andrew Miller right now, looking in his rearview mirror, those 4 cars are getting awfully close to him.
And they're gonna have to really start closing the gap here. So we're gonna be coming to 2 to go at Charlotte. You see Andrew Miller still your leader, but as we get to the backstretch this next time by, you'll really see how close this gap is getting. 47 Andrew Miller, he's done a great job all night long, but can he seal the deal here at Charlotte? Coming down the backstretch, that 15 car is coming for that win here at Charlotte.
They're almost there, Joe. It's setting up to be a really good finish. We had a great one last week. I think we're going to have a stellar one this week as well, Trey.
Yeah, if he gets to the start-finish line, if he can get to his bumper by the start-finish line, I think we're going to have a really good battle coming down in the 1 and 2. I'm really liking how quickly he caught up to his back bumper, but it's really a question, is the 88 going to help out that 15? I think if he doesn't, that 47's in a really good position to keep this win.
We'll have to see, and they're there. They're in his draft right now. Coming out of turn 2, we're going to have the backstretch and then 2 more corners to go. 47 blocks to the inside of the 15 car in the backstretch.
And I think that might do it. I don't know if these two are going to be able to make a move to the finish. Coming through 3 and 4, Andrew Miller in that 47 Camaro. The 15 looks low. Coming to the line.
And
Matt Watkins gets him.
What a finish.
So they're wrecking behind him. What a finish here at Charlotte.
What a tremendous last lap, last corner gasp of a pass for Matt Watkins in the Mario Power-Up Chef. That's a Toyota. The only Toyota in the field won this race. And that 5th car with a fantastic finish, our segment 1 winner with the victory at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Well, and your heart just has to absolutely break for Andrew Miller, leading pretty much the entirety of that second half of the race and just coming up ever so shortly. What was the distance at the line?
800ths of a second.
800ths of a second. Tell you what, Andrew Miller with that strategy did everything right except for the last 100 yards. Unfortunately for that 47 car, sponsored by Stevens Universe, he's going to end up second with Matt Watkins taking the victory. And I'll tell you what, Trey, that 88 car right now of Darren Ingram comes home third after some early trouble.
Yeah, really good run for that 88. I really didn't know what he was going to have there at the end, but really when they got caught up to him at that prime position, it was really good to see that 15 be able to get by. But I really want to take a note of something that the 47 did going into turn 3 here. He took the low line, obviously a protecting thing, and then rose himself back up. But I really think that he might have overdriven it a little bit, trying to keep himself in front of that Dean. Now that's there here and there, but I really think if he'd entered that corner any differently, how would it have gone if he had stuck directly on that low line and tried to keep it in?
As we'll give you one replay here, we got a great helicopter cam. We'll be able to see the runs as they form down the back straightaway. See Andrew Miller, yeah, he takes that low line there. The 15's going to get a great run through the center of the corner, really close to the gap and manages to dive low and just gets a great run. 47 gets really loose off the corner, and that really lost all the momentum for him there coming to the finish.
Unfortunate. He ran such a great race. He learned from his early mistakes and falling back in the pack. A different strategy from everyone else that put him in the lead for, boy, the whole second half of this race until the final lap. Matt Watkins in that group of Chevrolets caught him, but it was the Supra of Matt Watkins coming away with the win. By the way, to update you guys on that race crash, the number 1 car of Zach Krasowski did put the window net down and climbed out of the car just okay. So that's good news to hear out of the Allegiant Chevy campus.
And just a spectacular finish to this race. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in this evening. We love having you guys, and we love to show off this amazing NR 2003 League, the Fast Racing League. If you go down in the description of this live stream or video, if you're watching it the next day or after the live stream is over, you can sign up to race at Fast. Thank you again to my broadcast partners, Mr. Tommy Bordeaux and Trey Coleman, for joining me this evening. My name is Joe Twansky, and we will see you guys next week, Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern at the Iowa Speedway for the next round of the Friends of Sim Racers Tour Racing League Mountain Dew Dash Series. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.